Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Wednesday, the 15th of December, comes to you from London. And we're seeing markets mostly in the red this morning, so more red on the screen. So there's a lot of sentiment. The US stock market was down yesterday. The producer prices index came out and spooked the market up nearly 10%, running at nearly 10%. So inflationary pressures becoming very much the key. Here we see the dollar index rising on a reasonably strong trend on the short-term chart. This is a weekly, daily and 60-minute chart with the corresponding point and figure targets. Dollar strength is very much the theme running into 2022 with that long-term bullish call, and euro weakness below the cloud there. We're bearish below the cloud, bullish above. Bearish below the cloud here means euro weakness, and we're seeing that trend. The euro hitting now 18-month lows, so really significant, and we've got further downside targets there. Sterling actually up slightly this morning. We had inflation numbers out in the UK, and that's started the market thinking we might see a rate rise tomorrow. The key thing is, and that's the highest level we've seen in inflation for over 10 years, since 2008. So markets are now just starting to price in maybe we'll get a small rate rise tomorrow. And so sterling is rising as a result, and also then stronger against the euro as well. So we're seeing that move higher too. Bitcoin sitting at $48,500 seems to be finding some long-term cloud support here. Is through on the daily cloud, so we're seeing medium-term bearish targets some 14% lower, just one target lower. The target to $83,000 still very much intact, and we are seeing a new target to 51,800. So that's on the short-term chart. So remember that downside targets are not necessarily met in an uptrend. Looking at the S&P 500 index, as we mentioned yesterday, we went lower. This 4,700 level now looking like resistance there on the S&P 500, and 4,500 is support. If we fall through that 4,500 level, that wouldn't be good news for the market. And if we push lower today, we activate this downside target of 44.21, taking us below that 4,500 level. So we need to keep an eye on that. The Nasdaq index similarly lower, and again we've got to watch for testing that sort of 15.5 level there on the 100 as well. We're seeing the futures actually very little change this morning. The S&P future up 0.04%, and the Nasdaq mini down 0.02%. So that is just suggesting that markets are opening flat. That may deteriorate through the day, of course, as we head up to the open. The VIX volatility sitting above 20, but relatively subdued, so not that fearful. FTSE future in the UK down 0.4%. The interest rates, of course, seen as bad news for the market. The DAX in Germany sitting at 0.46%. And the CAC Quarant up actually 0.75%. So we are seeing quite a lot of strength there. Asia continues to be weak. We saw weak Asian markets yesterday, and overnight we've fallen further. Japan was up 0.4%. The Hang Seng continues to fall. Evergrande shares weighing there, of course. And if we look at the Sensex in India, we were slightly lower. But again, we have seen over the last several weeks just a bit of a deterioration there. And the Aussie market down 0.7%. Resources, we're seeing, we'll look at energy mix in a minute, but we're seeing on some commodities quite big falls. Wheat down 1.8%. Not enough to activate this downside target. We still have these upside targets here, but we are just seeing wheat prices pulling back. Gold struggling at 1769, really has been seesawing, just can't get back above this $1,800 mark. So really that is the key level for gold. Bullish above 1,800, bearish below 1,800. And so for the moment, we are just seeing a deterioration. And most precious metals lower. We're seeing silver lower, platinum and palladium lower. Palladium is still very much in a downtrend and sinking lower and lower. So we are just seeing that effect there on precious metals. Copper also quite a bellwether for industrial output globally. We're seeing a fall away there as well. So we are just seeing a slight deterioration. COVID, the Omicron variant, starting to weigh a little bit globally, and we saw in the US numbers out for 800,000 deaths now in the US. So really quite big concerns that we're definitely not through this, and markets starting to just reevaluate. higher inflation, higher interest rates, and more coronavirus fears, dampening global demand. So interestingly, we're seeing here on the bond yield, we are just struggling at the moment. So although the market is worrying about inflation, we're seeing that dampening effect. Looking at the energy mix now, we're bearish Brent Crude this morning out to clients. That was in our morning call. WTI, we're also more bearish, below the cloud with downside targets. All the upside targets that were on the chart have come off the chart. It's all downward pressure for crude oil. US nat gas, we actually are seeing some upside targets. We are below the cloud, so we were neutral here. Coal sitting at 124, so really not looking that bad. We've got to really get back above this 134 level set in November to be confident of recovery in the coal price, and of course a move below 100 would be bad. We are just coming out of the cloud, and we do have some upside targets there for coal. Emissions has really seesawed yesterday around this €80 mark. We've got downside targets into the mid-70s. We've talked about those in our reports. We're neutral this morning because we are just wandering below the cloud. We're really struggling around this 80 mark. Watch for new price targets on your 1-minute charts there. Gas prices have just turned bearish this morning. We've just gone negative. It'd be interesting to see if we get a new downside target that's activated on this pullback. So that's something to watch for gas prices today. We can only be bullish on the cloud, on the fact that we're making new highs and we're above the cloud with upside targets does mean we're medium term bullish, but we might see a pullback today now. Just keep an eye on those new pullbacks for any. We've got a little downside target there on TTF back to 125. Note how these targets come in real time. If you're trading gas, you need to be watching these. And looking at German power, down 2% this morning, so the cow pulling away there as well. Not enough really to change the situation there, but we are just seeing a bit of a pullback. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.